along with Bobby Gomes. 12 game NBA DFS slate, not messing around. Big boy slate here on a hump day. Myself and Bobby, we followed by, I believe it's Andy Means, Kevin Roth, and you got TJ Zwarych. The Fanduel sponsor, crunch time around 6:25 or so, taking y'all straight up the lock. Bobby, we were talking a little bit of movies pre-show. I don't know how much shenanigans we could have in the 12 gamer. A lot going on, a lot to break down. A lot of body parts have already fallen, many to monitor. It's a pretty wild slate, but we'll do our best to keep things on track. How are things in your world?
They're good. Minus trying to work through the weeds of this 26-team slate. It's 13 games, 26 teams.
Did I just count? I thought it was 12.
Oh, it was 12? Oh, yeah, no, my fault. 24 teams then, Dean. We have 24 teams. Yeah, it's a lot of games. So, yeah, outside of that, just getting ready. Watched Knives Out on your not Knives Out. Death on the Nile on your recommendation. And I liked it. I liked it. It was a good movie, good flick.
It just kind of got lost. It got lost because I don't know if it was a Hulu. I think it kind of came out when a lot of people weren't going to the theaters at the time. I feel like that's when it was released to the theaters, or maybe it went straight to Hulu. I don't recall, but it's a solid flick. Continue. Tell the people if you like it.
Yeah, I liked it. It was I appreciate your taste in movies, is what it is. So I knew I had to jump in and check it out, and I liked it. I just knew right away, kind of like we were talking pre-show. We knew who the killers kind of, or you could surmise who they were. So it was still good either way, though. It was a little good action, good twists. I enjoyed it.
A friend of mine is compiling, asking everybody he knows, to submit a top 10 movie list. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing with it, but I'm in the middle of making mine. I can't settle on anything, but I got it mostly settled. I have a whole bunch of others receiving votes that have a chance to crack the top 10, but it's feel free, or the chat can feel free. We'll play along.
He's crowd sharing the top, everyone's top 10. He's going to figure out the optimal.
There's a secret chat for it. They're all going to get the same one. I'm pretty chalky. I'm not going to give you North by Northwest, from 1947, or I'm not going to give you, Charlie Chaplin. I'm going to give you stuff that, I kind of grew up with, it's probably.
What's your number one?
Well, if you feel free, maybe we can play along. We can do this. The chat can guess, and you can guess as well. Feel free. But I have 9 of my 10, sort of. And it's fluid. I don't know about you, but if you ask me what my favorite movie is on a given day, I might answer differently today than tomorrow or yesterday. It's just kind of how but it's the same general.
But your number one's always the number one, correct? No?
Yeah, the one I have at number one right now recently jumped in at number one. I had a different answer, a different de facto answer, and that's at 3 right now. So this is
it Godfather 2?
It's not, but the Godfather movies are spectacular. I don't have either one in there, and I'm not besmirching at spectacular movies. Did not put them in there, but sure, of course they warrant selection. You prefer the sequel to the original?
I prefer the sequel. Yeah, Godfather 2 is probably my favorite. Gladiator's up there. I know you just saw it a couple of years ago.
I saw it for the very first time about a year ago, and I told the reason why. I went to the movie theater with my friends in 2001 or whatever it was, whenever it came out, and I went AWOL. I said, you know what? We were all planning on going to see Gladiator, and out of nowhere, I just pulled a swerve. I said, you know what? I'm going to watch Frequency instead. I just split off my friends, and Frequency wasn't as long as Gladiator, so I snuck into the back half of Gladiator, last 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it was, and then you can't get the full effect. And then I was watching a Pulp Fiction style basically because. I'm going to go back and watch it from the beginning, and then I've already seen the ends. But, that's why it took me forever to go back and see it. But it's spectacular. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I like Gladiator a good bit. Pulp Fiction, another one. But, yeah, Pulp Fiction's kind of how I originally watched Godfather. Seen bits and pieces and then finally watched it. I feel like I did the same thing with Pulp Fiction as well.
Pulp Fiction originally was my de facto answer for favorite movie of all time. It is no longer.
What is the new one?
Well, I mean, it's a movie that came out in the late 90s, early aughts. Yes, I can tell you that, and it's kind of chalky. Critics will love it. The people in the chat are firing off some names. It's not Bronx Tale, but Bronx Tale, of course, is a really, really solid movie. They're asking me about Air Bud. I cannot prioritize my Air Buds. I'm not sure if it's 7th Inning Fetch is my favorite Air Bud or Golden Spike, of course, Air Bud, and multi-sport athletes. What are the other ones that fit the rhyme scheme for Air Bud? Scarface is being thrown out there, Saving Private Ryan. Saw that one in the theaters.
I would say Saving Private Ryan. That was going to be my guess.
Spectacular movie. Did not crack my top 10, but again, in no way would I besmirch. Just an awesome, awesome movie. And we'll have some guesses being thrown out there in the chat. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is number 1 for Derek. There you go. You're dating yourself, Derek. If Ferris Bueller is number 1, I think you're dating yourself. Devin in chat saying Along Came Polly. I thought Devin's favorite was Rush Hour. He swerved on us? Is he changed? What's happened? Along Came Polly, one of my favorite actors, Philip Seymour Hoffman, making it rain. There you go. We're bringing it back to basketball. Have you seen Along Came Polly? You remember this movie? Maybe not. You're on mute right now.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. Yeah, I've seen it. I just didn't stand out. I've seen it a lot. I forget it. I could probably go back and watch it. I
think Devin's trolling. It's not like a terrible movie, but I mean, come on. It's not top 10 worthy by any means. Fight Club currently in my others receiving votes. So it might jump up into the top 10. Spectacular movie. I like a movie that has a twist, I suppose. I don't want to give anything away. It's been, statute of limitations are kind of sort of up. You should have seen it by now, but yeah, pay attention to Fight Club. There are certain scenes that kind of hint at things going on. All right, 12 gamer, and we'll see how this goes as we progress. But 12 game slate going down tonight. Oh, is that Devin who answered that question? That was Devin. It said Along Came Polly. I thought it was producer C for a second. Man, Lucky Number 7 is so underrated. Like nobody's seen that movie, but that's a fun movie. I don't know if it's somewhere you can find streaming, but that's a good call. The Departed is spectacular, of course. Now I'm just distracted by movies being thrown out in chat. We have a 12 gamer, Bobby. Lots of good studs to pay up for. No LeBron. LeBron was just ruled out a little bit ago. Embiid is questionable with his foot. We're assuming SGA is good to go. He's not on the injury report. The Milwaukee. I was talking about this with Grant earlier today on the Scores and Odds show, and I really think there's a chance that Giannis doesn't play today. It just smells, man. It's a back-to-back. It's travel, leaving the country, going into Toronto. They're going to be without Middleton. They're going to be without Holiday. Giannis was listed as probable yesterday. He played a pile of minutes yesterday. It feels why would they play nobody but Giannis? Just feels weird. The line even suggests it's 5 last I saw. Just keep an eye on it. He's not on the injury report. I got my conspiracy hat on. I think something goofy is going on in there. Would not be surprised. Orlando obviously still dealing with some suspensions. They're pretty thin. 2:45 total later on at night. We have 4 games at 7 o'clock. It's a 4? Yeah, it's 4 games at 7 o'clock right at the gate. Some really, really good matchups. Then we have 3 games at 10. So 3 games at the closing bell, 4 games right out the gate. And then we also have a block of 2 hours where nothing's going on as far as tip-off with 3 games at 8. There's it's lineup construction is a big deal today, obviously. And then we have the New York Knicks who take on the Spurs, who are just the worst defense in the entire land. And we know how congested those rotations get with New York. If you get 38 minutes out of Randall versus the Spurs, assuming this game stays reasonably tight, even Tibbs will play his guys a little bit longer sometimes. There's a lot of good stuff. It's kind of what I'm pointing out as far as this slate. We'll get through it as fast as we can. We'll knock it out for sure. We got plenty of time, an hour and 10 minutes before we hand it off to the Crunch Time crew. Is there anything you think is worth highlighting before we kind of do the game-by-game deal?
Obviously, these Lakers are going to be a big deal, but we kind of have a good bit of news in terms of what to do with them. Some Magic popping, Mo Bamba. Jalen Brunson's another guy who's popping, hitting a lot of stuff. So, I don't know, it's just a long slate. Just manage your time. And is there anything I'd prioritize in terms of building? I think it's probably going to be some of these Knicks, but outside of that, I don't know. There's not too much there's a lot of news, but just stay up on the news.
Yeah, the Knicks are great. The tricky part is if Devin Vassell plays, I don't know if I love the run backs for the Spurs. If he doesn't, I think Keldon Johnson's really interesting as a Spur run back. And also New Orleans, we're without Zion for a while too. Zion is going to be gone for a bit. Ingram's still dealing with his toe, so he's out. And Nance is also out. And they have a good matchup against Houston. CJ McCollum, should be unleashed. And some of their wings are well positioned. Najee Marshall, Troy Murphy. Just a lot of good stuff. And you mentioned the Lakers. Like, I guess it's going to be Thomas Bryant, Dennis Schroeder, and Russ. That's their best options if they're going to stay close with Miami. That is a later game. But all right, and the rest of it will come up organically. Inglourious Basterds is always worth watching. I love that movie. I just didn't want to put 2 from Tarantino in my top 10, but like certainly that is spectacular. The Departed, just more movies being thrown out there. Memento is in my top 10.
Are you gonna give the number 1, or what are we doing?
Somebody's gonna say it at some point. It's a great movie. I guarantee. I don't want to guarantee, but it's a really, really good chance that you've seen it. It's a really, really good chance you like it. Most people have seen it. I think it's got a big name actor in it, 2 big name actors in it. I guess 3 big name actors in it. And it came out around 2000. Yeah. All right. And yeah, Oscars were won in it, I believe, for writing. I think. I'm not sure about acting. Hey, the very first game on the slate is, again, 4 games at 7:00. Very first one we're going to talk about is Memphis and Charlotte right out the gate. This is an awesome game. 235.5 is the total. Charlotte is a 7-point dog here. Charlotte is thin again. They had Oubre back for a very short period of time. Now he's out once again. Gordon Hayward not officially ruled out, but he's doubtful with his hamstring. And then Cody Martin is a chance he might play tonight. He's questionable with a knee. I don't think he's played a minute the entire season because of injury. So we'll see if he comes back. I'm guessing it's unlikely, but stay tuned. As far as Memphis, Tyus Jones is ill. He's questionable. Brandon Clark has got a hip. He's out. I think that makes Steven Adams, and we're gonna talk about a lot of centers, I'm sure, but Steven Adams to me, especially on DK, he's like 6'8" on FanDuel with 5'4" on DK. Steven Adams, we love big players against Charlotte. He's not a guy that's going to go out and score 35 points in the bucket, but it feels like, like a 17-17 kind of game is potentially on layaway here against Charlotte. I don't know who's going to slow down John Morant on Charlotte. Like, he's just going to do whatever he wants. Desmond Bain, since coming back from injury, he's been scuffling as far as hitting his threes, but that doesn't mean he can't get on track tonight. And Triple J, always somebody worth a look in tournaments. A great game environment and some good runbacks in Charlotte because if this game stays close, you're going to get a ton of minutes out of LaMelo, Rozier, McDaniels. We're having a jumping in the starting lineup. He's pretty cheap on DK. I like him a good bit. This game is good right up the gate. Feel free to start wherever you want, but there's a lot of goodness here. Yeah,
Steven Adams, he's hitting I ran 100 teams. We're getting him 20% with Brandon Clark out. 5,400, I think. It's the first game of the night, right? But he's a relatively good play, especially picking up those Clark minutes. We have him currently for 30 minutes. So, yeah, if he sees a couple extra minutes, really like Adams. I think I'm waiting for like Desmond Bain to see an increase in minutes. We have him for 28 minutes. If he gets into the 30s, I think he's a good large field tournament play. 6,700 for Bain. Yeah, Jaren Jackson. I Triple J is someone I can play. 6,500 in terms of tournaments, power forward, center eligibility. We have him for 29 minutes. I think those are the 3 guys outside of Morant. Morant's always fine. This is obviously a good matchup for Charlotte, but those are the 3 guys that are standing out to me with Adams being the best play of the bunch. And then on the Charlotte side, PJ Washington, Jalen McDaniels. Jalen McDaniels, I think, is a guy like there's a couple guys out here there's Gordon Hayward, which is doubtful. So you would think Jalen McDaniels sees those minutes. We currently have McDaniels for 32 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that's a good number. He's going to hit some builds. I wonder how much we were getting him when I ran that. Like McDaniels, like Washington. I like Ball, but they would be the 2 I prioritize. And then Ball's fine on the Ball and Rozier. They make sense too, right? Like you can always play those guys and GPPs and stuff. I think my favorite would be McDaniels and PJ Washington, though, just as like filler pieces. It is a 12-game slate.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like Morant and Ball in this game both look pretty interesting. It's a fun idea to run them against each other as well. And I don't like we have Ball currently on DK at 3% ownership. We have Ja as far as his ownership. I believe it's not very high either. Just jump to it. I'm pulling up the old lineup HQ now. Yeah, we got him at 3% as well. And in part because McCollum looks really, really good. Jalen Brunson on DK looks awesome at 7K against the Spurs. Like, that's such a good play. Quickly is still probably too cheap as well. It's just kind of the way builds go. Like, the most popular player in this game on DK is Jalen McDaniels at 24%. Steven Adams, 15% on the other side. Really, really like him. I don't know what's going to happen with centers right now, but Embiid just got ruled out. I'm curious what Philadelphia does as far as that starting lineup, because now Paul Reed can be interesting if he draws the start or even if he comes off the bench. He hasn't been playing a ton of minutes lately, but we know he's a really good fantasy point per minute player. He's 3K on DK. And then there's, let's see, how much is Harrell? Harrell's 4.2. And just because they start doesn't necessarily mean they're going to close. We've seen it a couple times this year when Embiid's been out. It's just like whoever's playing better. And I don't know how you predict that, who's going to be playing better as far as this game. But I think, to me, my first thought is Paul Reed becomes really interesting. I don't know if he starts. And we've seen also Tucker start, and neither one of them start. So, 7 o'clock game. We're not talking about the Sixers right now, but just that's going to be important news as far as the slate. And then also, speaking of point guards, like James Harden now is going to get shuffled into the conversation. He's going to be elevated. And we know James Harden plays more minutes than anybody else in basketball per game this season as well. So, yeah,
and he's right in that Ball Morant price range too. Like, he's 9,800, and Ball and Morant are 10.2 and 10.1. And
almost definitely his projection is going to jump those guys. I haven't seen what the projection is, but I feel pretty confident in saying that. It sounds like you agree that Harden will be ahead of Ball and probably Morant dollar for dollar, right? I think he's going to be a great play. And then all of a sudden we're running out of spots. And that's why John Morant is going to be like 4% owned or 3% owned against the Hornets, which is just, again, a spectacular play.
Yeah, I think in GPPs you could definitely take the Morants and the Balls. Donovan Mitchell's another one in that range that, with Garland out, he obviously coming off that insane game. He's at 9,600. So there's a bunch of different guys in that range, but that's why you're getting the low ownership. So I don't mind the Ball and Morant pivots in GPPs.
Yeah, I'm curious what we do with we'll get an ownership update and all that kind of stuff. I imagine our team was somewhat expecting this. Of course, they're going to have to predict who's going to draw the start for Philly, and good luck with that. There's really no great way to do that. But again, it could be Reed, it could be Harrell, it could be neither. And they start, they just move Tucker up to the 5. And I don't think there's any world, I don't think, that you're considering Tucker, even though he's 3-1. But it's just, PJ Tucker just basically stands in the corner. I'm looking at his game log. I know it's a cheat code, but his biggest score, he hasn't cracked 20 fantasy points, man, in a long time. Since, let's see, 10/31. Is that Halloween? It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah. There's no way I'm playing Tucker.
Yeah, I'm not playing Tucker either. But just kind of curious to see what our projection team is going to do there, and that if one of those guys starts, it will take up a center spot, and then whatever our ownership is on certain centers today, they're all going to take hits incrementally. Again, this game feels really, really good. There's 12 of them, so you can't love everything, but if I get pieces of Ball or Rozier or McDaniels, I'm fine. Morant, sure. Steve Adams, I really like Steven Adams. Just take souls out there. The absence of Clark really solidifies him. Like, is a path to him playing like 32, 33 minutes here and legit like getting 24 rebounds. Now he's not going to score 25 points, but I think he can get you a double and throw in a couple stocks as well. Anything else that we should mention as far as this game, or shall we move on?
We can move on. I think that covers basically all of it.
Let's see. Mufasa says the Memento #1 movie. That's a spectacular movie. It's not Rounders, but Rounders is absolutely. It's in my others receiving votes currently, but it looked like 3 people did guess. I told you it was really chalky. My favorite movie, and this is when you asked me today, or when I started making the list. It might change tomorrow, but Good Will Hunting. If you've seen Good Will Hunting, right? Come on,
Boston guy.
Yeah,
I've seen Good. Is Goodwill #1 now?
That's #1 for me right now. Yeah, that's my answer.
Is it really? That's interesting.
Have you seen it recently? It holds up so well. There's so many good scenes.
Yeah, it is a really good movie. I've seen it recently. I went to school on like the Dorchester South Boston line, so Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the movie. I like it. It would be
What's
top
the deal with
5 for me.
Southie? Is that a Hollywood thing? The Southie is that legit? Is that real?
Yeah, I guess it's a neighborhood in Boston. A bunch of movies from South Boston, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lot of good friends from there. So yeah. I like Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah, nobody just it doesn't have to be your favorite movie, but I can't. I've never met anybody that watched that movie and said, "Nah, it wasn't for me. Didn't like it." Like, I just feel like how do you don't like that movie? It's a great movie. All right, some others being thrown out there in chat. We shall move on. Roadhouse. I don't know if Derek is trolling or not. Roadhouse is getting a remake starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor. Get excited. That's happening for real. I don't know if you've seen Roadhouse or not, but
I haven't.
Swayze.
Boom Shakalaka said centers against the Hornets are the moneymaker.
We just got news that McDaniels was starting for Hayward, which we expected, but I don't know.
Yeah. Did you just hear a weird noise?
It's someone knocking at my door. Can I let them in?
Did I just imagine that? I'm like looking to see like what tabs do I have open, because that did not sound like a sound I've ever heard in my life. But all right, somebody's. Don't they know? Don't the people know, Bobby, that like you're doing a show, you're doing a thing? They're not aware.
I don't know. I think it was just the timing. I lost a pair of keys, so I had to be responsible to let my girlfriend in.
Fair enough. Yeah, understood. And that takes precedent. Absolutely. All right, let's move on to game number 2. It is or OKC in Orlando. OKC traveling. They're on the back-to-back as well. 230 is the total. OKC is a 1-point favorite. Again, SGA was ill yesterday, kind of a late scratch. Not late, but just out of nowhere. That's just how illnesses work sometimes. He's not on the injury report today. OKC has done some funky things, but we'll just take him at their word as of right now that he's back, because he's not on it. Doesn't appear. Poku, of course, out for a while. The usual suspects, JRE is still gone. Orlando is without a bunch of dudes, mostly due to suspension. Some due to injury. Franz Wagner is out for a suspension. Bull has a health issue. Mo Wagner is out. All the Wagners. If your name is Wagner, you're out for Orlando tonight. Admiral Schofield not playing basketball. Suggs, of course, out as well. I believe we're looking at 9 bodies on Orlando. Let's do a head count. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yeah, Fultz, Harris, Ross, Banchero, Carter expected to start. With Houston, Hampton, Anthony, and Mo Bamba coming off the bench. That is our projection. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and like a lot of the prices have adjusted as well. So Mo Bamba looks pretty good at 4-3 center and center only for giving him 25 minutes. I don't know what to expect out of him as far as minutes, but okay, let's give him 25. What's he been playing recently? Because 16, 19, 18, 20. We haven't seen him since I guess, in about a week or so. Yeah, it's kind of a tricky projection, but we're giving him 25 minutes, and he's pretty fine in 25 minutes against OKC. A little bit more than a fantasy point. Banchero's got a pretty meaty price on him, but he should theoretically, be the main guy. He's a guy who can play 35 plus minutes here, possibly up to 40 if this game stays tight. And then we got Carter coming back to suspension, but he's not super cheap, but he's fine. Your thoughts as far as the Magic? It feels like they probably would be more appealing, but again, a lot of the prices have adjusted. Fultz is now 6'6". Is $400 less than Brunson? Brunson to me is clearly the better play amongst those two. How do you have the Magic?
Yeah, I like a couple of these Magic. Mo Bamba being the first, 4,300 center only. We have him for 20. We have him for 21 minutes. I feel like that would be with 9 guys. You'd probably have to see more minutes than that. If you get him up to like 26 minutes, fantasy point per minute. I don't know. I like Mo Bamba. I think Banchero at 8K, he's fine. You're taking Franz Wagner out. Markelle Fultz at 6,600. I like him a good bit. There's a couple different guys. Cole Anthony, if he starts at 5'3", I like him. I just have to be careful, make sure he's starting, because they could start Gary Harris.
Yep.
If I had to rank them, it would be Bamba, Fultz, Banchero, Carter, I guess. Or maybe I should flip Carter and Banchero, just because of Carter's price tag. Carter was popping a little bit earlier today, but
by the way, the lineup is out for Orlando. Fultz starting, Gary Harris starting, Wendell Carter Jr. starting, Banchero starting, and Houston is starting. Caleb Houston starting for some reason. He's a really low usage guy. I don't think he's still that interesting. I'm curious what our projection team is going to do with that. Houston on the season is what 0.48 FanDuel points per minute, 0.51 DK. His usage is 10%. Like even starting, I have a hard time getting excited about that.
I have no interest in Caleb Houston at 3.9.
Yeah, I just think that that's worth acknowledging that he's starting, but probably not going to mess with it. Gary Harris starting at 3.8 on DK, 0.71 DK points per minute. That's kind of interesting, I guess. Yeah. Does that get you excited at all? Gary Harris in the year 2022?
No Gary Harris for me.
Yeah.
Colts, Wendell Carter, Banchero. Oh, Bama's not starting. Oof.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, so that kind of changes things for me. It'd probably be Wendell Carter, Fultz, Banchero, then Bamba at 5.2. Bamba's still going to see, well,
mid-20s.
Yeah, mid-20s.
22 to 28, somewhere around there.
Yeah. I don't know on this slate if it's worth it, though, because we're kind of loaded at the center position.
That's my thought process, too. Like, I'm not running 150. Would it be in my 150 pool? Maybe. He does going on occasion, but the minutes have not been ramped up on, low teens, mid-teens, high teens. He's a good fantasy point per minute player, but not amazing. 1.03 on DK is good. By the way, Evan Mobley is in, so if you had dreams about rostering Kevin Love, don't. Mobley's going to play. Tyrese Maxey expected to see his minutes limit increased today. That's interesting, especially with Embiid out. Jalen McDaniels will start for Gordon Hayward. Cody Martin will have his minutes monitored if he plays for Charlotte, which that's not a surprise because, again, I don't think he's played a minute all season long. And if he has, it's been a long time. Garland, by the way, is still officially doubtful. And if you didn't piece that together, Gordon Hayward is not playing basketball tonight. He is out. That's why McDaniels is starting for him. OKC on the other side, I mean, I don't think anybody's playing SGA. Like, he's just not going to get played. I understand why.
That range with Mitchell and Harden and Ball and Morant. So, yeah, he's definitely not going to get played.
Yeah, it's if you want to get 3% or 5% of them like that, I'm not going to discourage it. Like Orlando is not a defense we're afraid of, and if we assume he's full go, like whatever illness he has over it, yeah, okay, sure. But with him playing, of course, he eats away at everybody else as far as usage, and I don't think anybody else is particularly appealing on the OKC side. There's no priorities. Absolutely, your thoughts as far as the Thunder?
It would be Shea, Giddey, Dort if you get to them. Outside of that, like, they're not priorities. But if you want to play these guys based on just like an affinity for OKC guys, it would be Shea, Giddey, and Dort that I'd consider.
All right, Phoenix versus Cleveland, 217.5 is the total. Cleveland, 5-point favorite. Mobley is back. We are assuming Mobley's back. We're assuming Garland's going to be out. He's officially doubtful. Yes, we saw Mitchell go absolutely nuts last game. 70 points in the bucket, and I think he had 10 assists as well. Max coverage is telling me that he heard me the other day say he was not a star. I was talking to Tasteful Tides, to Tim, and I was asking him if he thought he was a star. I was riding the fence. I didn't really have an official take, but I think it's kind of gray area star. But Mitchell certainly played like a star in that last game. I don't know if I'm chasing it. Like, certainly you can play that if you want. Their rotations are really, really tight in Cleveland. The matchup against Phoenix, right? I think Phoenix is this good defensive team. Last 15 games, Phoenix is the second worst defense in basketball, only behind or ahead of San Antonio, the Spurs. They're terrible right now defensively. I know they're dealing with some injuries in and out as well. But, that says a lot for the Suns. Second worst defense. Defensive rating is 118.5. Spurs 121, which is outrageous. Cleveland, on the other hand, they are super, super slow. They play at the slowest pace in all basketball, and they have either the best or the second best defense. So why would you want to roster a Sun against a team that plays really, really slow and great defense. I don't like any Suns. You want to change my mind?
I have no Suns. I do have Cleveland guys going back to Mitchell with Garland out. He's solid. It might be a chase, but I think he's a fine play. If you want to pivot to Ball, Morant, or one of those point guards in the 9K range, by all means, I think Mitchell's a really good play here. Karis LeVert should see another start at 5,500. I knew he was going to be like, he wasn't like bad chalk, but he wasn't optimal the other night. I just kind of figured that would be what his rate. He finished the slate as well as I thought he would. I wish I had kind of pulled the fade button a little bit more. Evan Mobley, do we know if he's out or what's his situation?
He was just ruled in. And okay, so what's interesting is LeVert, I assume this is because of Mitchell just doing his thing. LeVert had an 18.5% usage last game, which is really, really low, right? Considering what he normally is. And a lot of times he gets second unit stuff without other guys. Now he's throwing the starting lineup. What was Mitchell's usage last game? I'm going to say it's like 45.
It had to be 40 plus, right? Like easily. He played almost every minute.
42.81% usage, which is outrageous. And again, he was 20 of 25 from the line, 15 of 19 from 2, 7 of 15 from 3. Jesus, launching 34 shots. And he was a part of, I think he had 10 assists, 11 assists. He was a part of like almost 100 points, I think.
He started off super slow to hit the 71. He was just 100 fantasy points, but 71 points. He started off very slow. I remember watching him. I had him on one of my main teams. So, yeah, it was incredible stuff. Can he do it again though? That's basically.
I mean, I'm not here to say you can't play the guy. Of course, you can play the guy, but I'm also not chasing that. You can't assume. Variance went into his direction so many different ways. And yes, this Phoenix defense has not been good. He's fine, but he's 9'6". It's a full tag. Typically speaking, he's not going to give you that double-double, right? He's got to score 35, 40 points, which certainly he can. I'm not prioritizing him. And according to our projections, 3% ownership, he's not getting prioritized there either. It's just, and I feel like it's going to be like some sort of human error where people are just, hand builders. I want that guy. I missed that on last time. So I think that's going to change. Maybe a little more %, but less than 10%. Hey, achievement unlocked last slate. You said you played him. I cashed. I didn't win, but I did cash without having him on my team. So that's something, right? I don't know.
You cashed for that? Yeah, that is. So you had the stone nuts, and then
I cashed without Mitchell. And he was like 15% owned. And So good for me. Yeah. But I didn't win anything nice, obviously. It's just, some more chips to play again tonight. Mobley playing Allen. Yeah. So Love you can't play Love.
You can't play Love. Cedi Osman would have came into play in that scenario. You can't play him.
Yeah.
Do we like any of these bigs from Cleveland?
They're fine, right? And I know nobody likes that answer, but
I would have been interested in playing Allen if Mobley was out, but outside of that, Allen and Love. But outside of that, I don't think I have much interest on a 12 gamer. They're okay.
Mobley at 6'3" is a pretty reasonable tag. I would just throw. I mean, assuming he's playing, assuming he's fine, I guess. But no priorities is kind of the answer. And I think LeVert's the best play, dollar for dollar on this team, and I think his usage goes up. Everybody just sort of yielded to Mitchell because he was just going nuts, and that's just how that game went. And LeVert, he's still going to play 33, 34, 36 minutes, something like that, against a Phoenix team that, the label looks scarier than the actual numbers. Anything else that's worth acknowledging? Yeah, I think I had Clay. Clay had a big night. Yeah, I think that's one of the guys and I had some Collins. I talked about Collins. That game went to double overtime. That was that was a crazy slate. There was 400s being dropped.
Collins, very good play.
Yeah, I think he's because he was just getting in foul trouble. And that was one of the reasons I was pushing him his minutes.
He ended up getting the center minutes. I'm pretty positive.
Well, it was a weird game because we'll get to it. In the fourth quarter, he didn't play the last 6 or 7 minutes or so, but then they went to double overtime and double overtime, and he played all the overtime. Yeah. Usually, once you have your lineup set, coaches rarely get off their lineup in overtime. It's just that's what it is. Did not have Trent. I did have Looney. I just see people throwing names out there in the chat. All right. We go with Phoenix and Cleveland. I think we are, right?
Yeah.
The last of the 4 o'clock games, let's see if we gave our projection team enough time to change the Philadelphia stuff. Hopefully we got it set up and we can dive in, and they're at least taking a stand on it because we still don't know. They're going to be guessing as far as the starting lineup for Philadelphia. If you're just joining us now, hey, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Do all those things. Let us keep the proverbial lights on. But yeah, Embiid has been ruled out. So no Embiid, which is a big deal. Everybody else is healthy for Philadelphia, and they said Maxey will get a boost as far as his minutes. And Indiana, their opponent, is fully healthy, right? So Pacers pretty predictable lineup as of right now. Do we still have Embiid in? Are we taking a stand here? Don't think we've got it as far as our projections. That's incoming.
We have the what if projections though.
Oh, there it is. No, we're giving Paul Reed 24 minutes. There you go. Yeah, so if Paul Reed gets 24 minutes, he's center and center only. If you tell me he's getting 24 minutes, I am interested. Now, you got to put a number on it. There's some volatility to it. But, yeah, and that's probably assuming he starts. He's pretty handsy, but he's also a good point-per-minute player.
Will he play on the floor with Harrell, you think? Probably not.
Will they play together? No, I don't think so. I think that's unlikely. I can run a court IQ and see if that's ever happened.
So should we max one them?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're putting 24 on Reed and we're putting 22 on Harrell. So we're almost chopping up all the center minutes there. And I guess Tucker can grab a couple if they need be. Niang, I suppose, in a pinch as well. Let's see. Let's run the court IQ and see if they've ever played together. My guess is they haven't. And if they have, it's like less than 10 minutes. But we could be wrong. While I do this, your thoughts as far as Indiana. I think it's one of those teams that are not terribly interesting as far as the slate. You tell me otherwise.
It would just be Halliburton, as if you're playing 150, you can always get to Halliburton. The main priority in this game is going to be James Harden for me. Just trying to get a lot of Harden. Reed and Harrell will also be in my pool. Max one of the two of them. Tobias Harris, I think he's fine at 6'4" on DK. We have him for 34 minutes. Like, that's pretty much always what Tobias Harris is. He's fine. But my favorite play by far is Harden at 9,800.
Harrell and Reed have played together for 19 minutes this year, for what it's worth. It's happened. And I assume it's happened when Embiid was out. That's what makes sense to me. Let me also run a court IQ as far as let's throw Embiid off the court and see how that changes everything. And the Maxey thing is a little bit of a wrench, right? Because his minutes will be increased tonight. I don't think you're rostering Maxey. I don't think so, right? How much is he at?
No, I don't think so.
We're giving him 29 minutes, but even 29 minutes at 7.3K on TK, that's really hard to justify. Our big usage winners without – oh, hold on. I have Harrell off the court for some reason. Let me run this again. Give me 1 second. Just trying to see who would pop. And I'm – spoiler alert, it's going to be Harden, right? That's what makes the most sense. Yeah, so Harden's got a 34.5% usage and 279 minutes without Embiid this year. 7.8% bump in usage. That is huge. Per 36, 8 over 8 DK points increase per 36. Same deal on FanDuel, 8 fantasy points per 36. And he's going to play 36 minutes, probably even more, barring goofiness. Maxey 30% usage. So he's really interesting. It's just that I can't get there. I don't think I can. Other boost, Harris gets a 4.4% boost. He's fine, but Harris always, he's okay. I don't mind Harris at 6'4". That's playable.
Yeah.
The Reed thing, if Reed starts, he's certainly interesting. He's a fantasy point minute guy, and Harrell is okay too. He's a little bit less this year as far as fantasy points per minute, 0.92 without Embiid. Reed is 1.03, and also Reed's still min, and Harrell's not. Curious to see what that starting lineup looks like. Keep your eyes on that one. Is there anything else of note here that we should mention, or shall we just move on?
That's it. Prioritize Harden, and if Reed's in, get him in your lineups as well.
All right. Next game on the docket is, Spurs versus the Knicks. 225 is the total. Knicks are about 10-point favorites here. We talked about the Spurs being a horrific defense, worst defense in the league this season. They have questionable Devin Vassell, KBD. Keita Bates-Diop is out tonight for New York. Derrick Rose is questionable with his knee. Obi Toppin upgraded to questionable. RJ Barrett, of course, out with his finger. We are projecting quickly to stay in that starting lineup and keep smashing. Randall looks really good against San Antonio. They got ravaged on the inside as well. They yield top 2, top 3, actual points in the bucket on the inside. The Brunson price on DK is what really stands out. I just love that price, and he's going to be popular. I assume if you have I'm going to guess that he's a Meansy core play. Is he a Meansy core play? Let's see. Means will be on later.
Should be at 7K.
It's got to be, right? Yeah,
yep.
He is. He's only got 2 guys tagged as core plays, and one of them is Brunson. The other one is, and this obviously fluid, it's Paul Reed, but that could change if he's not starting. But as things stands right now, he looks pretty good. Yeah, where are you going to stand as far as Brunson, as far as Randall? Are you going to be over? Are you going to be under? Because we're getting big ownership number on Brunson.
Yeah, so Brunson at 7K, he's very much in play. I find it very hard not to get to him. I know point guard is kind of loaded on the higher range. We have him for 34 minutes. He's 1.11 fantasy DK points per minute. Like I don't mind getting to Brunson at all. Quickly at 6'2", I think he's fine on DK as well. I think you can play him. We have him for 36 minutes. Randall at 10.5 is difficult for me because I want to play Randall. This is the Spurs play absolutely no defense. He'd make my pool in 150. I'm only playing 8 teams, so I don't know how much I'm going to get. But I think I like Sabonis a little bit more. And the Sabonis at 10.4, I'm pretty positive. So, yeah, you could play Randall. He's obviously in play for me. I don't know. I think I'll probably have more Sabonis. And then Mitch Robb at 5.7. I think he's in play in 150. If you're playing 150 teams, he'd make your pool.
Did you mention quickly? I might have missed it. Did you say quickly? Quickly,
yep.
Yeah, 20% ownership right now for quickly on DK, 33 for Brunson. That's a big boy number, but it really is just, it feels to me like really good chalk. San Antonio, nobody's getting ownership. The biggest ownership right now is Pirtle at 2.2%. Vassell being questionable could shuffle things up a little bit. Keldon, who's currently getting 1%, I think would become pretty interesting if Vassell doesn't go, but I think it would also increase the chances of this game blowing out, and it's already at, a 9-10 point line. I have nothing else here. As far as San Antonio, do you feel like you have to, if you're running 2 New York guys, is there any rules? You'll want to run.
I don't think you have to ever run anything back in NBA. It's not NFL.
Yeah.
If it happens organically, it's fine. What I will say is these starters, 5,700 Trey Jones, 6,500 Vassell, Keldon Johnson, 6,900, 4,800 Sochan, 5,900 Jacob Podol. If Vassell's out, these guys are slightly underpriced, so maybe they would be more appealing. I know that there is the risk of blowouts, but I don't think we're in the business of trying to predict who's blowing who out. Yeah, I think Keldon would be my favorite in the event Vassell's out, but these other guys I think are slightly underpriced. So I don't think they're the greatest plays in the context of the slate, just because it's a 12-gamer, and if Vassell plays, then they're pretty much irrelevant. But I do think they're somewhat underpriced. So if you're running it back, it's fine. That's the answer everyone hates, but yeah.
Don Yeezy in chat, you want Okongwu or Bryant on DK?
Bryant.
Yeah, I think I want Bryant too. But then the game environment for Okongwu is really good too, though. But that's Bryant. If that game, finds a way to stay close, Miami 10-point favorite in LA. No Davis, obviously, no LeBron as well. I think the guys keeping it close with the Lakers will be Dennis Schroeder, Bryant, and Russ coming off the bench. A little bit of love, the Shawshank Redemption in the chat. Usual Suspects, Few Good Men. That's there you go. Because they're some solid movies. Nothing bad to say about those. Are you a fan of anything to add there? Usual Suspects. You see?
I think they're both fantastic movies. They'd probably make my top 5.
Yeah. Oh wow, really? Yeah.
I like Shawshank a ton.
Yeah, Shawshank's in my top 10. It's just I know that's super chalk, but like, come on, that's another one of those movies. Like you can't watch that movie and like be like,
Whoever's crowdsourcing these top 10, Shawshank's gonna be in the
top. Taylor says play centers against Charlotte. Yeah, we already talked about Steven Adams. Looks really, really good. 5'4" on DK. He's 6'8" on Fanduel. I don't think I get there on Fanduel. Like he can. I'm not getting there like my first 5 theoretical lineups, but like of course, I guess he's in your pool if you're running 100 or 150. Just the price is more appealing on DK. Milwaukee, Toronto, 225 is the total. Milwaukee 5-point dog here. Again, man, I just don't. I think something weird is going on with the Bucks. I always surprised it could happen that just Giannis plays, but it just seems strange. He smashed yesterday, back half of a back-to-back. Everybody else is resting. No Holiday, no George Hill, no Middleton, no Jingling Joe. They have tons of bodies in Milwaukee, plenty of guys. 5-point dogs. Like I feel like Vegas is kind of hedging that a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong to say that. Like you think they're a 5-point dog against Toronto with Giannis? Maybe they are. I don't think so though. And Toronto, well, yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah. If Giannis is, I think you're right. Like I don't think Giannis is going to play. If he does play, you're taking all those guys out. He's still at 11-9. He's obviously he's the best play. He's like you want to get some Giannis, but there's nothing really outside of that I'd have much interest in on the Milwaukee side. It'd be more on the Toronto side. I thought we were going to get low-owned Toronto guys, and now I'm worried that if Giannis doesn't play, like you said, it could blow out. In that case, we're
going to go on Toronto guys if you want that. Like Trent's our biggest ownership right now, 12%. Everybody's healthy for Toronto. They're full go. Otto Porter doesn't count. He's got a toe, whatever. But everybody else is good to go. I mean, you were talking about the 10-3 range, right? You were talking about Sabonis earlier. We mentioned Durant, but Durant's in that area. Kind of talking about Randall, like guys that are competing against Randall and Pascal. If this game stays close, he's going to play 40 minutes against Milwaukee. And like he's always under-owned. He seems to be under-owned, like always. Maybe he's not the sexy name that some of these other guys are. I'm not really sure what it is.
So if the game did stay close, he's 10-3. Van Fleet's also 7-3.
Yeah.
Could be a slight pivot maybe off of Brunson at 7K. I'm just thinking within like general construction. But it doesn't seem like I'm not going to bank on Giannis playing because like you said, the line I feel like indicates that he's not going to. So
I think it's kind of a hedge. Like if he somehow gets ruled out, maybe I'm just being paranoid. I think it goes to like 8 or something like that, Maybe not, but like I feel like if he's like definitely in, I like the Milwaukee side. We could give me 5 points, and it is back-to-back and travel, leaving the country. The other weird thing is like, let's just say, I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it because maybe I'm just my own little thought process, but like what if Giannis doesn't play? And I agree, he's an awesome play. We know what Giannis, when everybody else is out, like he just takes the role over, and he's a phenomenal play, assuming that there's no issue with the back-to-back and his minutes he's going to play 36 minutes as projected. Love it. But if he doesn't go, like Portis is already 6'6". Like again, doesn't mean you can't play him, but like it's not like you're getting a 5K Portis. He's gonna fully smash. And then you're dealing with like the Connaughtons and the Allens and the Carters. I guess Carter will be pretty appealing, but is it even worth asking the question? But like who will be the player to step in if Giannis is there a clear lock?
I think it's Carter at 4'6" that's going to step in and be the guy people are going to go to. I do worry about when we get like chalky Milwaukee guys, like you said. Portis at 6'6" would probably be my favorite. Brook Lopez is at 6K. Grayson Allen 4'3". Connaughton. It's so tough to say like who the right guy is to play in this scenario. I remember I think it was like a week and a half ago we did a show, and all three of them were chalk, and they all busted completely. So yeah, I for me it would be Carter, and that's about it. If Giannis is out, and as the cheap guys, and then Brook would be, Bobby at 6'6" would be my favorite in terms of the bigs.
So your favorite play on the Toronto side, as is right now, is who?
It's Siakam. I think that Siakam at 10-3 is a very good play. I really like Van Fleet at 7-3, two general Toronto guys. But I also, like if this game were to stay close and Giannis played, I think Barnes is in play at 6'7", OG at 6'4". I would have sprinkles or try to be over the field just because they play so many minutes, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Next game is Houston, New Orleans. Houston fully healthy. Jayshawn Tate doesn't count. New Orleans without many of their bigs, several of their bigs. Zion, the most important one, he's out with that hamstring, going to be out for a while. Nance still dealing with that shoulder, and Ingram still dealing with that toe. CJ McCollum, he's going to take over. He's 8'2". I think McCollum and Brunson are like, mid to upper tier spends that like look really, really good on paper. McCollum, 27% current ownership. And then some of the wings are pretty interesting too. We talk about Murphy and Marshall, both 4.8 on DK, both projected to play 31 minutes or so here against a Houston team that's pretty, a good matchup. Valanciunas, another center. It's a tricky one, right? Because they still have other bigs. They're without Nance, who closes over Valanciunas many times. They're without Zion. They're without Ingram. But they also have, Hernan Gomez is lurking. And again, you don't know when these guys are going to be unleashed. And there's another one too. And why can't I think of the other guy's name? I'm drawing a blank.
Jackson Hayes?
Yes. Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't know if I'm rostering those guys. That's like ambitious, heavy top-loaded contest, running 150, that kind of thing, because they're both good fantasy point minute players. But the floor on Hayes and Hernan Gomez is so low that you could be drawing dead if things are not working out for you. Or you're going to spend up on Valanciunas against Şengün. What are your thoughts there as far as Valanciunas? We're giving 27 minutes to him, which is, I think, kind of a hedge, personally.
If I was playing 150, I'd be max one of Valanciunas, Hernan Gomez, and Jackson Hayes. Because we've seen Valanciunas' minutes, like they haven't been there, they've been kind of cut off. So I worry if one of these guys plays good, maybe even with Nance out, like he doesn't see the extra minutes that we think he's going to see. CJ McCollum at 8'2" is a fantastic play. Like you're taking Ingram and Zion out, two guys that take up a ton of usage in this offense. McCollum at 8'2", I would be trying to get to him. Najee Marshall, we have him popping 50% of the time in 100 lineups I just ran. 4,800, I don't mind that. Trey Murphy, 4,800. I think they're large. You could play them in. I would prefer Marshall, but Murphy's fine as well. McCollum is my favorite play by far. And then on the Houston side, Jalen Green, Porter, these guys are seeing pretty solid minutes as run backs. I think you can go to them. I think Porter's seen like 42 minutes the other night.
They pushed them pretty hard the other night.
So the minutes are there for those guys. And then Jabari Smith as well at 4,800, who I played on one of my teams. We have him for 31 minutes. I don't mind him as a power forward center. Those would be the three guys that I think you can play in your pool or as run backs on the Houston side.
The minute, as far as our chop up of minutes, Valanciunas 27, Hernan Gomez 17, but it's like 26 somehow. Like he's a really good play, I think. 17, not quite going to get there. Hayes 21. So we're giving a total of a little over 60 minutes. So there's some overlap with Valanciunas, Hernan Gomez, and Hayes. But I do agree, if you're looking for ceilings, you're probably rostering one of those three. You max it out at one, and I think one of them probably gets there. I just don't know which one does. They're all center and center only, right? Yeah, Hayes, Hernan Gomez, Jonas Valanciunas, all center and center only. And as far as Houston, you mentioned them, acknowledge their existence, but nobody really getting a ton of ownership. Jabari is the most at 7%. Eric Gordon, revenge game for Eric Gordon at 6%.
People are actually going to play Eric Gordon.
He's getting, I don't think
do anything.
And I think he's tired of playing with all those rookies too. I somehow went down the rabbit hole of like Houston Twitter or something like that. And it's all a bunch of young guys in this team. And then there's Eric Gordon, it was like 30 something, right? I don't think there's any other vets on this team. I feel like there's not.
He was in Space Jam, right? Eric Gordon. That could have been your 90s movie.
I have not seen Space Jam. I don't think he could have been the original Space Jam.
How have you not seen Space Jam?
I remember my friends all went and they asked me if I wanted to go, and I was like, no, I'm good. And I just like stayed home. I don't know what I did for the 3 hours, but yeah. But you're talking about the original, right? I've not seen
the original, not the. I haven't seen the LeBron one.
Well, wait, Eric Gordon cannot be in this Michael Jordan one, right? You're thinking of like
No, he's in the Michael Jordan one. I'm pretty positive.
old
He's
was
the
he, like a
kid from the
child
beginning
in
of the movie. Yeah.
hold on? When did this? We got to halt the show for this. When did the original Space Jam come out? 2000?
In like
96.
96, yeah.
Wait, you're telling me? Hold on. Eric Gordon. How old do you think Eric Gordon is? He was in the Space Jam
He was
movie?
in the Space Jam, yeah.
No, that was almost 30 years ago. Oh, and he was playing basketball in the movie?
He's like a young kid. He's like Jordan's son.
No, this doesn't make any
You
sense.
didn't know this?
No, are you being serious?
I think so, yeah.
I don't
Someone
think
said
this-
he's not in Space Jam. True DFS.
I don't think the
think
math
it's
checks
Bobby.
out. He was born in 1988.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you're by line though, because I'm second guessing it. Like, that doesn't make. It
You
doesn't-
Google it?
Yeah, I do. I Google.
He's in
it.
Space Jam. Yeah.
No,
He's in Space
I mean maybe you're thinking of Bill Murray. I think you have to be thinking of Bill Murray.
No, it's Eric Gordon. He was in Space Jam. Yeah.
No,
I'm
Muggsy
looking at it right
Bogues.
now. He plays Marcus Jordan.
Oh wait, you know what? Maybe he wasn't a child. You know
He
might be
was.
right.
That's what I'm saying. He played him as a kid. He
Oh
wasn't
my-
one of the like Monstars. He played him as a kid.
How did they know he was going to be this great basketball player when he was like
I
7
don't
years
know.
old?
Did you Google it? Everyone's on me that he was not in it. He was. He was.
Well,
in it,
I kept
actually.
scrolling down the cast.
Yeah,
They're showing
he
a
was in
child's picture. Says Eric Gordon. I did not know this. Wow, my mind is blown. I was
Wow,
not
I
aware of
stand
this.
corrected, Bobby. Yeah, you should.
I apologize. Yeah. Well, I was also looking at the chat, and the chat was like, "Well, you're right, Dean. The math doesn't check out. They all have their calculators."
No, he was the kid. Well, D never seen the movie, so how would D know in the first place?
Well, I did. I
He
wouldn't
plays
remember
Marcus
8-year-old
Jordan.
guy.
Yeah.
But like, how do you kid at 8's going to be? I mean, what a great job of scouting. Whoever discovered, let's throw this kid in the, in the game. All right. Well, good for him. Is he in the sequel? I have no idea.
85% of the chat currently has seen Space Jam. Just saying.
Yeah, I have not seen either of the Space Jams, but that's how has nobody ever talked about this Eric Gordon thing?
This was like, I feel like more people did talk about this. This was like a draft day thing when Eric, so I guess that was a while ago because
He was drafted like 15 years ago, right? He's old.
Yeah, 15 years ago. I just remember it because high school, basically. I think he was drafted when I was in high school. So
Yeah, it's a great little tidbit. I don't really watch the draft, so maybe, my bad. I should have known that. That's on me.
second one was dumb. Someone said in chat. I imagine it was. I couldn't see the second Space Jam being good.
Like the first, how is the first one like great and the second one dumb? Like you're both buying into a
Back to Jordan LeBron.
It starts the whole argument, I suppose. But all right. Well, fun fact: I'm still not playing Eric Gordon. He's not. Yeah, I'm not going to be playing him. But that is interesting to note. Are we done with that game? We're moving on, right?
I think we can move on. Yep.
Wait, now we're saying it's a different Eric Gordon.
It's not. It's actual Eric Gordon. I'm pretty positive.
It's kind of like a popular name, pretty generic name, but we must figure this out.
It's 1988. He was born. The actor was born in 1988. It's Eric Gordon.
How come he's not been in anything else? He wasn't in like Good Will Hunting, as far as I know.
Someone's saying it's not the same Eric Gordon. Oh man, maybe it's not.
All right.
I thought
Now,
it was.
pendulum is swung.
I've heard that it was. I don't know.
All right. Brooklyn is facing the Bulls. 235 is the total. It's a big boy total. Brooklyn, 6-point favorite. They have had the best offense in basketball for the last 15 games. Some really, really awesome. By a good margin, too, actually. Their offense is
out.
Okay. I think I'm going to run like one Keldon lineup if that game stays close, and then Keldon is having himself a big night.
Yeah.
Brooklyn's offense has been
Big Body as the run back.
You think so or you don't?
I do.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at as well. Brooklyn, Chicago. Brooklyn is right there. They're a healthy team. They're clicking, but you got to pay for them if you want yourself some Durant. I mean, when you're talking about Durant, you got to compare shop. You got to compare Durant against Randall. You got to compare him against Sabonis. You got to compare him against Pascal. Where does he rank amongst those guys?
Say it again. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. What did you say?
We got him started on Eric Gordon, I suppose. Yeah, so like Durant is a good play, sure, but is he a better play than Randall? Is he a better play than Pascal? Is he a better play than Sabonis? Where does he
I
rank?
think I'd prefer Randall, Sabonis, and Siakam to Durant in this situation.
So you got Durant last.
Durant would be last. Yep.
And it doesn't mean you can't play him. Like, I think, right?
Yeah.
He's not a bad play. You just got to put somebody last, right?
Yeah, you just got to put someone last. Kyrie, you can always play him as well. He's at 8,800. Him and Durant are fine. I like Ben Simmons at 5,900, I will say. What do we have him for minutes? 27 minutes. Play him at center. No, what do we have him for power forward center? Yeah, I don't mind Ben Simmons. Might be my favorite net, to be honest. 5,900
ownership stuff. Doing a little refresh on the lineup HQ. Let's see. The biggest ownership player in this game on DK is Levine, 7.3. Pretty fair price at around 12%. Vuk at 7 or 8. Center and center only. It's hard to make work, but sure, I get it. We got Kyrie at 6. DeMar at 5. Durant at 5. Yuta Watanabe getting 2%. Get out of here. We're not rostering him. No, we're not. I'm not on board with that. Who did you say? Simmons. Simmons getting 1% ownership. Sure. Okay.
Yeah. GPPs, 5,900. I don't mind it.
What about Chicago? Kind of ran down like the big three: Levine, Vuk, DeRozan. Levine will be most popular amongst those three. It's just worth noting the minutes of them. Really, they're pushing those minutes on Chicago really hard. They're getting into this decision point at some point where they might have to just blow the whole thing up. We'll see. It doesn't look like it's going to happen as far as the Bulls. They probably peaked. I don't think they're going to get much beyond where they are right now. The experiment's not looked great. They're without Lonzo if you want to have an apology or reason why. But the minutes have been there. And, again, this Brooklyn team, they've been good defensively, awesome offensively. But I guess Levine's the best play amongst these three. But I don't love anybody in Chicago on this slate.
So Patrick Williams at 4,200, seeing 30-plus minutes. The usage isn't the greatest, but I don't mind him as a value on the Chicago side. Vooch and Levine would be my two favorites. Levine 7,300, Vucevic 7,400. I think they'll both make my pool, but that's about it. Yeah, not a ton in terms of this game.
All right, we can just move on, right? This is the last of the 8 o'clock games. Eric Gordon was apparently an extra, and he got game with Ray Allen. I was not aware of that.
Oh, dude, he's in one movie. He was in some movie. I knew he was in a movie. I thought it was
he was in a movie. Is it where all right, we're settling on. That was the Spike Lee movie, Ray Allen's He Got Game. Denzel. Good movie. All right. Portland, Minnesota, 233.5 is the total. Minnesota is a 1-point dog here. Oh, wait, nope. The person who said that just said they lied. Apparently Eric Gordon was not in He Got Game. So
yeah.
I don't know. The mystery continues.
Right. Who cares? This is off the Eric Gordon stuff.
He was in Hoop Dreams, maybe. I don't know. Probably too young for that. All right. Minnesota, Portland. What's going on in this game? Nurkic expected back from his illness. Hopefully you guys did not play him last game. What a disaster that was. Winslow is still out. Is Peyton really already questionable? He just came back from injury, or is that an injury management thing? Okay, just of note, Peyton apparently is questionable. Minnesota, we are expecting to see Taurean Prince be available, which we haven't seen him for a while, and D'Angelo Russell is back from his illness. Naz Reid is questionable with his back for Minnesota. Minnesota is not getting a ton of ownership at all. We're talking about like nobody above 2% on DK. Anthony Edwards is great, but when you're prioritizing stuff on this slate and salary, we live in the world of salary cap, I am not prioritizing him. I wouldn't discourage rostering him. If you want to have him, by all means, go for it. I don't think I will. We do have a 6.5 price Gobert. I think it would help if Naz Reid is out. His minutes would get pushed a little bit more. They don't have much behind him in the way of centers. But I don't love a lot of a 12-game slate. This is not my favorite game in general. And I don't love the T-Wolves. Tell me otherwise.
Yeah, if Reid is out, I think Gobert is fine. These other guys, Edwards at 9.4, he's priced up. Russell is 7.6, 35 minutes. Like they're okay. Like it's a 235 total. I get in large field stuff. You want to get to these guys, they hit rosters. I feel like they're fine in GPPs, but nothing much outside of Gobert for me at 6,500 if Reid is out.
Portland. The biggest ownership on Portland is Josh Hart at 7%. At 6-1. No, that's a no for me.
What about Nurkic at 6-2? Like Nurk seems like he's in a really good spot.
You gotta
for the tag. Obviously, Gobert defense is tough, but 6,200 for Nurk, I don't hate.
We're just giving him 26 minutes, but I think there's a path where he plays like 30, but there's also a path where he plays like 25 or 22, and he's been all over the place. But I get it for tournaments. I don't know who's slowing down Lillard in Minnesota, just like I light it up, but you got to pay for it at 9-7. But I think there's a chance he puts up, 40 points in the bucket tonight. Wouldn't shock me at all.
He's in that range where he could be a very interesting tournament pivot. Like at 9,700, he's right below Harden, between Mitchell, below Morant and Ball. Like Lillard, if Lillard was on the winner at the end of the night, like I would not be surprised.
But like you say, Harden right now looks like such a clearly better play before the game go. Let's check out the ownership on that because I'm curious what we changed. Okay, so we have Harden now at 22% ownership. Ownership was refreshed at 530. I'm not sure if that's going to change or not. They'll probably get an update at some point, but that does reflect Embiid being out and Harden getting a lot of that usage. They're asking about Montrezl Harrell in the chat. Is he going to be chalky? Only if he draws the start, and we don't know. Currently, we're not projecting him to start. I don't think so, at least, because we're giving him 22 minutes and we're giving Reed 24. So it looks like we're basically splitting those center minutes amongst those two. And Reed being distinctly cheaper would be the more appealing play. But, we're just waiting for that lineup to come out. And 7 o'clock? So if we don't have it, crunch time's going to get it at some point. Crunch time will be coming in about 15 minutes or so. Y'all get Andy Means, going to give you the rundown as far as the slate. And then TJ will give you his tournament. Roth will be hosting that show. Cody Martin available to play. That's interesting. Not sure how many minutes he's going to play, but again, I don't think he's played a minute all season long, but Charlotte does. They're really thin. They can use him. I don't know how much they're going to push him. Certainly, can consider rostering him. I'm just sort of thinking about how many minutes he would take away from other players where it might matter. Anything else there? Kuminga is out for a week. Aldama, I didn't know Aldama was even questionable. He is available to play for Memphis. Portland and Minnesota, we're done, right?
Yeah.
All right. 3 games at 10 o'clock. 3 games going down to 10. The Pistons taking on the Warriors. 231.5 is the total in that one. Golden State, 7-point favorites here. Detroit's without Marvin Bagley's going to be out for a while. Cunningham out for the season. The Warriors just said Kuminga's out for a bit. We know that Wiggins is still out as well. If you want to chase that Klay Thompson game, by all means, go for it. Jordan Poole looks like a better dollar for dollar play, at least according to our projections. He's been he shoots. He hasn't been making shots as efficiently as you'd like, but maybe a matchup against Detroit is the cure for that because they are a horrific team defensively. Warriors and Detroit. What are you doing with this game?
So Bagley's out for Detroit, and I think that bumps Stewart and Duran. I'll have interest in those guys. Jaden Ivey at 5,500, seeing minutes increase recently. He just hasn't been playing great. So those would be the 3 Detroit guys I'd even consider. And then on the Golden State side, Poole and Klay, I think they're just the natural at 8,300. I think Poole's probably my favorite. Klay at 7,600. I don't want to chase, but I think he'll be in my pool just because just for the fact that he's I don't know. I feel like he's an all right play on the slate at that price tag. But outside of that, you could always play DiVincenzo and Draymond. I think I prefer DiVincenzo to Draymond. I don't want to get to too many of these guys though, just because I do fear a blowout.
That's kind of where I'm at. And you mentioned Detroit, they like to play big rotations. They don't like to play any individual guys more than 30 minutes, Yeah. If you look at our projected minutes, it's just, we're projecting 11 guys. You got to see what you have on Rodney Magruder and Kevin Knox and Corey Joseph. I don't know why they do this. None of these guys matter. right? I guess Knox theoretically has some talent, wants a lottery pick, but like it's just odd. And it's trying to figure out Detroit's incentives, and like they're not going to push Durant 28 minutes, Stewart 29. They're just not going to give these guys much more than that. It's kind of priced in. It's kind of baked into the price. Even Bojan 31 minutes is the most we're seeing. This Detroit team, they play a lot of guys, and I just tend to avoid it, and hopefully nobody goes nuts. Hopefully it's quiet. We've seen big games out of Ivy before. I'm not assuming it happens tonight. If it does, well, that's bad for me. Miami and the Lakers, still 2 more games at 10 o'clock. Miami, Lakers, 226 is the total. Miami is a 10-point favorite here in LA. Of course, no Anthony Davis, no LeBron James. Who else is missing? Lonnie Walker is out also. Miami should be basically a full go. Guys, Duncan Robinson's going to be out for a while with a finger that happened today. At least it was announced today. Jovic's not available for a while with his back. Dedmon's questionable, not a big deal. Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent both available. The Miami side is going to be pretty neglected. We talked about
they're all relatively priced up.
Yeah,
Butler's at $9K, Bam's at $8,700. Tough to get to Miami.
Nobody's playing him, and I know that's the counter, right? And there's the push pull. 2% ownership on Bam at 8.7. Like Bam can certainly crush here.
I would prefer Bam as like the run back because we are getting Lakers chalk, obviously. So I'd prefer Bam if you're running it back.
I think I agree. My favorite player in Miami is going to be Bam, but I don't know if I'm playing Bam. But that's my favorite player. If you're forcing me to pick, it's not Jimmy. Hero at 8.9. Come on. I mean, he's fine, but come on, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, he's priced all the way up.
The Lakers they're pretty interesting. Dennis Schroeder's 4.9 on DK. We're projecting 31 minutes, 27 fantasy points. Russ, we're giving him 29 minutes. I assume we're projecting him to come off the bench, but once he's in, he's basically in. And then there's Bryant at 29 minutes. I think those are the 3 best options. Like Pat Bev is, he's a lot of things have to happen for him to really break a slate or come close to it, but he'll at least get some minutes and he's cheap. Austin Reeves is probably more than me amongst those two because he's a guy who can actually score, 22 points and get hot from 3. Beverly really doesn't do that unless you want to guess like 4 or 5 steals, which can happen too, I suppose. What's your priorities as far as the Lakers? How much do you like these guys?
It'd probably be Westbrook, Schroeder, and Thomas Bryant. If they keep it close, those will be the guys that keep it close. I think you could throw Pat Bev in the mix. But yeah, if this game blows out, like I don't hate Wayne Gabriel at 3.2 as another flyer, like big. I don't I didn't like these guys as much as I did like when we first started the show. They're not hitting as much now, so I don't know. Schroeder, Bryant, Westbrook. I hate playing Westbrook though. I feel like this is a tough matchup versus Miami. I would definitely prefer like playing Jalen Brunson or getting to other higher usage. Like I don't know. I don't usually roster Westbrook successfully, so I'll probably stay away.
He's got a similar projection than Brunson. Brunson's a little bit cheaper, but just as far as raw points, they're very close, I believe, for what it's worth. He's not a fun roster in 2022. He certainly has his moments, and he still has that chance to get the triple-double for you. Turns the ball over a little bit too much. That doesn't hurt you as much. I don't really know where I'm at as far as the Lakers. I think they're all sort of fine, but I don't know if I'm like going out of my way to make sure I get Westbrook or Schroeder. I saw an interesting question in chat. It said basically if Reed starts, is he a must play on DK? And I'm curious to get your thoughts. I don't like using that word on a 12-game slate. And I don't understand the context of he's probably like somebody you play in your cash lineup, but there's absolutely a chance he starts and plays like 18 minutes. And, gets in foul trouble or just Harrell's out playing him or whatever. Other things can happen. So I would say no, but he's a really strong play.
Yeah, he's a really strong play in the context of the slate. Like at 3K, I'm probably going to play him if he's starting. In the minutes projection we're giving him, it's tough. But yeah, is he an absolute lock? Like no one's a complete lock, but I think he's a good play.
Anything else that we should talk about before we move on to the last game, Atlanta, Sacramento? We've timed this pretty well. Any questions in chat? Fire them off. I still see some loaded in there. Did Tobias get a decent bump? We can take a peek at Tobias before we get to Atlanta and Sacramento. Try to see what our projections is for Harris. Everybody gets kind of a little bit of a bump when Embiid is out. Harris is the most popular player, not surprising. Again, we're assuming Reed starting at 24 minutes. Harden looks really, really good. You got to pay for him. And then Tobias kind of in the mid-tier. 6'4", 34 minutes, 35 fantasy points and change is a median score. Therefore, a 17% ownership. Yeah, he's perfectly fine. Is anybody really thrilled or excited at the prospect? Nobody wakes up and gets out of bed and say, man, I cannot wait to roster myself some Tobias Harris. But, he's fine. And I'm not blowing my lineup up. If I have 6'4", and I need a small forward, Harris it is. That's it. What do you think?
Yeah, at 6'4", he's fine if he's a fit last guy in filler. I don't mind him. I think I'd prefer Harden and Reed though.
Yeah. I do too. In a vacuum, however you want to phrase that. Mitchell's asking about Ayo Dosunmu. Why are we looking at Ayo Dosunmu? What am I missing here? Because
I don't think we need to be looking at Ayo Dosunmu.
He's cheap. He'll play about 30 minutes or so, but he's like the fourth option on the team. I think it's a little thin for this slate. Like that's where I'm at. If you're running 150, if you want on the pool, I suppose, I guess, but there's no chance he's landing on my first five. Let's talk about Atlanta and Sacramento. We have a Red Velvets Kevin Huerter revenge game versus 240 total. Is that the biggest total we've seen this season? I feel like it may be. I don't know. Is anybody top 245? It's a big boy number for sure. And it's tight, right? Sacramento, just a 1-point favorite. They're playing in the back half of a back-to-back, but I don't believe they traveled. I think they were home last night versus Utah. As far as injuries, as far as health in this game, Capella's still out for Atlanta. Sacramento, I believe, is fully healthy. I'm not sure if they updated their injury report today because they played yesterday and sometimes that stuff's wonky in the back half, but Sacramento should be good to go. Awesome environment here. You got to pay for stuff, obviously. Trae Young, would it shock you if he scored 45 points in the bucket? I don't think so. We touched on Collins earlier. Okongwu is kind of interesting, but he's center and center only. I like Collins over him personally. What's your first lead? Oh, you mentioned Sabonis. You want to talk about Sabonis?
Yeah, I really like Sabonis at 10-4. It's weird, like with the total being what it is, we're not getting like crazy ownership to this game. So I just think Sabonis within that range of like the 10K guys, like Randall, Durant, Siakam, he's kind of been the guy I've been on all day. So going to be trying to get to him. You mentioned Trae Young, like he's 9,500. Although we have those strong guards in the 9, basically from Mitchell to Morant in terms of the salary structure. I guess he's fine as a run back. He's like the same as the majority of those guys outside of James Harden, who I definitely think is the strongest. De'Aaron Fox at 8,500. I like in this spot, he's okay. I don't think I'm going to get to much Fox. DeJounte Murray seems underpriced at 8,400. Collins would be my favorite relative to Okongwu. And then we have Bogey and Huerter revenge.
I forgot about the Bogey revenge. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, Bogey at 5'9", Huerter at 5'3". I like Harrison Barnes' price at 4.8. What do we have Barnes for minutes? Like he usually sees in the mid-30s.
32.
Right?
Yeah, he's getting the most ownership in this game. Like he's just a cheap way to get access to a really good game environment. Barnes also generally not a guy that's going to win the slate for you. Generally not a guy that's going to lose it, right? Same sort of deal with Harris for me. It's just like if I have 4.8 left and I need a small forward, okay, it's Harris and Barnes. We're not blowing that lineup up. That lineup's good. Do you ever seek out Harry Barnes? Pretty much never. I don't think so. I don't want to speak for you. You tell me. It's fine.
No, he's fine. Keegan Murray at 4,100, who I hate rostering. He's, I guess, another guy you could consider, but there's other value that's stronger on the slate. But Yeah, I don't know. My favorite play is Sabonis. I think he's going to be the play I like the most at the center position.
By the way, the poll, I'm getting smacked. Well, I didn't take a stand. Have you seen Space Jam? We took a poll there. Producer Steve dropped it in chat. 80% of the people watching this show have seen Space Jam. Wasn't specified Space Jam 1 or Space Jam 2, so I don't know if it's either or. But I've not seen Space Jam. And I feel like you can't see it as an adult for the first. I mean, can it actually be good? I don't know. Should I see the LeBron one? They're both kind of the same, aren't they? But yeah, they are. Oh, OKC is starting SGA, so he's good to go. SGA, Giddey, Dort, Jalen Williams, and Jalen Williams. Yes, of course. both Jalen Williams are starting. Is that one 3K still? Did you mess with Jalen with the Y the other night?
No, I did not. I did not. Why, was he a good play? What slate was this, Monday night? I can't remember when it was. It might have been 10 days ago or so, but he was like 30% owned and like -2 points at half on FanDuel. he ended up getting like 12. Like, it was just hilarious. Because he was starting out of nowhere and it was a slate that didn't have the greatest of value, but I think this slate's a little bit different. At least I haven't run anything on it. I don't think people are going to be clamoring to play Jalen Williams with a Y. He's 3-3. Actually, he's 3-3, but he's center and center only. He's actually been pretty good fantasy points per minute for what it's worth. All right. What else is going on in the chat before we let TJ? They're scolding me for having never seen Space Jam. Sorry.
Who the hell has never seen Space Jam?
I cannot believe Dean hasn't seen Space Jam.
Hey, Roth, I'm going to blow your mind. You ready? Remember Eric Gordon that plays for the Houston Rockets? He's so old.
Yeah.
Dude was in Space Jam.
He wasn't in Space. No, he wasn't.
Stop it.
This is what we talked about like 3 minutes ago. There wasn't Eric Gordon.
Old, though. He is old.
Yeah, a different Eric Gordon that was in Space Jam. But yeah, I haven't seen it, and I feel like the moment's passed. Like, you can't see it for the first time. Like, at this point, it's over. It's fine.
You're kind of right about that. Yeah, I can't argue that.
You got that Dexter shirt going tonight, Roth.
Yeah,
you do.
I'm feeling a little bit like a serial killer. Like, yeah.
You murder somebody on the way into the room?
The scruff and the open V.
That was Dean's best call ever. You look just like Dexter right now.
Got a problem with my dark passenger.
Stay away from your sister.
How did you enjoy being a lumberjack?
Yeah. I went as Dexter for Halloween once, actually. Yeah.
Did you?
You just walked out of the house.
I just wore the shirt. Yeah.
I got 2 minutes. Any ideas? What's up, TJ? They have Dexter up there in Canada, right?
Yeah, we got Dexter. We have New Year's, all Thanksgiving, all the big things that are in the States. We also have in Canada, Dean.
There you go. How are you doing, TJ? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing not bad. I had a tough night last night. Came down with a little bit of a flu, but restful day when we're hanging in there.
You had the fish? Is that what you're trying to say?
Might have had the fish. I didn't have the fish, but my stomach thought I had the fish.
Yeah, that's not the flu. That's a stomach bug, my man.
All right, we got chat talking about all sorts of movies as well. It's a big boy slate. We should probably yield, let you guys do your thing as far as crunch time. Bobby, unless you got anything else for the boys, we'll give them a
good
few
luck
extra
tonight,
minutes.
guys.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys.
Hit that like button before TJ starts lecturing y'all, and subscribe, turn on those notifications as well. On behalf of myself and Bobby, do appreciate you watching the first portion of the show. Now the FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time, Kevin Roth. You got Andy Means. You got TJ. Roth, take it away.
Appreciate it, Dino, as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It is crunch time, and it is sponsored by the one and only FanDuel. Some good little notes to get out here before we dive into the content here. First off, make sure you're signing up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get the no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. But beyond that, this is another thing you should be excited about. NFL Lineup HQ is free this weekend. The Lineup HQ tool that we show right here for NBA, we have that for NFL. We have that for, like, I don't know, a lot of sports. I don't know all the sports, most of the sports. And you can try it out starting this Friday, going through Sunday. RotoGrinders is unlocking the penultimate tool. Penultimate's not the right word. The ultimate tool for it. Penultimate is like second to last, so it's certainly not the penultimate tool. It is the ultimate tool for DFS and for sports betting. So make sure you're checking that out when we open it up for free 99. Pleased to be joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, Mr. Andy Means in the house. What up, Means?
What's up, Dexter? How we doing?
I'm good. I don't like that I don't get to see you every day because when my dope fire flame calls go right, I don't.
Please, was it Balak?
It was Balak season, baby.
Oh
it was
my God.
Balak Flames. 42 minutes Means.
I actually remember, like, right before I was like shutting down for the night, I remember pulling up the box score. What do you have, like 26 or something, right? DK, is that right?
Yeah, something like that, close to 30.
Okay,
We're
I'll do
around
it.
up
I'll
to
do it.
30.
All right.
We're around.
Okay. That's all right.
And then had a Daniel Gafford call the other night that went quite well. So I'm excited to see what will be my call tonight. I don't know. I haven't looked at anything. I'm going to figure it out here in the next 20 minutes. But Minzy, we're here for your takes, your cash analysis, and then also for our guy TJ's GPP takes. TJ, how you feeling? Feeling better than you were last night?
Yeah, I'm hydrated. I spent the day in bed, working from bed, and watching some movies, playing some video games. So it's been a pretty good day. Now I'm ready to dive into this NBA slate. We have just a wild one in terms of news and people out and stuff like this. So it's a fun one. I kind of like the chaos.
Okay, very good. We thrive in the chaos. That is what we do here at RG. Smash that like button for us. It's free content, ladies and gentlemen, so make sure you're getting in on that action. Means let's talk about the slate in general. As I like to say, let's pretend you have a friend who hasn't looked at anything up to this point, and the friend looks like Dexter. What would you say is a general overview here?
Roth, I will say, we always joke at like the start of the season when like we tweet out who's going to be on the Crunch Time show, and we always get what's a weatherman doing on the show?
Yeah.
Like, let's take aside the fact that you're like an awesome host and you like know what the hell you're doing as far as like dish and stuff. You like do really represent like the bulk of people who are watching. Like I think there are a lot of casual fans who like want to know they're getting in late. They want to know. Yeah. So like I feel like we get a little glimpse of the masses through your eyes as well.
I think we have a good split of people who are really sharp and who want like really high end, the best content in the biz, and we've got that. And then we've got a bunch of people who are just getting off work or just getting home from school or whatever it is. Or like, catch me up. We've got 31 minutes. Catch me up. And so it means catch me up, catch them up right now.
Yeah, it's so like we have 12 because the timing of this show, regardless of the kind of level of player you are, the amount of people who are just getting off work, NBA is crazy with the amount of news coming in off the day. And so even if you know what you're doing from a DFS standpoint, you could have no idea from what's going on with this slate standpoint. So it's a fantastic point, you guys. Sorry to kind of derail us.
No, you're fine. It's like the one sport where honestly, I think it means you might agree. Sometimes it might be better to not look at things in the morning because by the afternoon, with the injury news, everything is thrown out the window. Anyways, but means let's discuss what we've got here.
Yeah, so 12 games, but a lot of the stuff has already come in. So I think what we're going to be dealing with is talking through the stuff we already know about. We'll maybe get some curveballs with starting lineups. But I'm looking at Situation Room right now, and the only Q tags I see are way down kind of toward the bottom with Naz Reid, which obviously doesn't really matter as much because Gobert is playing, and Tyus Jones, which kind of is a little bit, but I mean, not a lot. And then there's some other fringe Q tags. So a lot of what we are hoping to get, we've already gotten. One of the main things I'm looking for is who's starting for the Sixers, just because
it's funny.
Come on, Alan.
That was a compliment.
Come on.
It's funny. Yeah, it's fine. Continue.
I mean, it's true. You literally get in here and say, "I have no idea what's going on." Come on, Alan.
I'm fully a casual. It's fine. No offense taken.
Alan just pushes back on anything that's not a narrative. So if I don't say like a narrative, he's just going to push back immediately.
So I want to know starting lineup is Harden, Maxey, Melton, Harris, and PJ Tucker.
Okay, yes, because that was our projections, guys. Were talking about this before I hopped on the show. because they were speculating on what they're going to do with center minutes now that Embiid's out. And I had Reed tagged as a core play. So I know they're this is what I'm going to say. Like a few of the guys that do our projections, like they are diehard Sixers fans. So like whatever spits out here in lineup HQ with Sixers stuff, like I trust the hell out of it. Like they are just they just live and die with everything Sixers. So I'm curious to see where they put these center minutes at now that there's not Harrell or Reed starting. So I will wait and see what they do because I trust their judgment on this more than anybody. So be curious to see how they divvy out that stuff. That was literally what I was talking about when TJ broke the news. So that's one thing off the list. And then I'm sure there's other more important, or not more important, but other things that are meaningful that will be popping up as we move along here. So let's talk about FanDuel real quick, if that's all right with you, Roth.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I know pretty much like basically like one player at each position that I definitely want to plug in first. I only have 2 guys tagged, but I feel pretty good about 5. Well, like I'll probably untag Reed depending on where the guys go with their projection, but point guard's one of them, Jalen Brunson. So no Barrett, that matters a lot. He his usage rate goes up a lot, like meaningfully. Assist rate goes up a little bit. But if you look at the game flow tracker from last game, that was his first game back after he missed 3. And Tibbs just like went full Tibbs. Like Brunson comes back, plays 39 minutes right away. He was on pace for 40. This was a 24, 26 point game at like the under 3 timeout in the fourth quarter. Tibbs like, you guys are going back out there. He brought him back out. And he got an extra like a minute and a half or 2 minutes of playing time. So like, yeah, they're playing the Spurs tonight. Like I'm much less concerned about blowout risk when your coach is freaking Tom Thibodeau. So, and Brunson's still just in like the low to mid 7s. So like I love him on both sides. CJ McCollum is the other one I like. There's like a recent 3-game stretch where Zion was out. Ingram was also out. And I think he averaged like 40. I think he averaged 50 fantasy points. One big game, one okay game, and then one kind of crappy game. And I think the crappy one was minutes due to or I think they were up by a lot and he didn't really do much. So I really like him against Houston. So those are 2 guys right off the bat that I like at the guard spot. Now that Melton's with the Embiid stuff, Melton obviously gets a little bit of a bump, just trickle down effect from rates, probably a couple more minutes tacked on. So he's 6'1". I like him in the mid range. Let's see. Those are the main ones I wanted to mention. Let me see if I'm missing anybody else. Yeah, I think that's it. There's a ton of other people like bunched up, but kind of a little bit behind I think, so I'm going to move it along here. Let's go to small forward. So here's another one. A couple of them actually are small forward that I really like. Tobias at 6'3", no Embiid, obviously. He's going to get a bump. And then Najee Marshall, he's just kind of in that, I don't like what I'm seeing for ownership. Obviously, I don't care about that for cash game purposes, but I'll let TJ speak on that one in a little bit. He's fine for cash. I'm concerned about that much ownership on a 12-game slate. I think that's kind of ridiculous, actually, to think that that's anywhere near a good play because he's just like okay. Like this isn't like Andre Drummond at 4K with the past years when like he was backing up Embiid. This is just like one of those. Just the best of okay plays situation. So he's definitely one I like for cash games, though. And he's only small forward eligible. So put him and Tobias there. I like those 2 guys for cash games. And then Paolo at 8K. It's really hard to figure out what's going on with them in general, just because like trying to figure out projections by that. I mean, just because there's just you're not going to get a lot of sample with all of these guys they have out. So you just kind of have to go with some baselines of how these guys are as players, and just logically speaking, like all of their good players are out basically, and Paolo's probably already their best one anyway, so he's going to have a lot on his plate. So 8K is a big price, but I think he's fine in the sense of I could see myself doing it on him in like a 2v2, 3v3 kind of thing, and but like that's a good kind of transition to power forward because at 9-9, Julius Randle. There's a little bit of concern that you're not going to see these massive minutes that he's been seeing because Toppin is officially back. And Tibbs likes to do the basically one guy in, one guy out at each position a lot. So you could see like he's been playing like 40 plus lately. We have him at 39, but he's just been really, really good regardless. So I think that's one of the guys I really like at power forward. Palo's there as well. I don't think there's anyone sticking. Oh, yeah, the Orlando guys, Wendell Carter Jr. He's actually – they said he doesn't have a minutes restriction. We have him at 30. He could easily play 35 tonight. Like, they've been easing him back in. He could easily play, like, mid-30s. I'm not going to count on it just because they're obviously being safe with him, but I really like him. And then Kevon Looney obviously had a big game the other night. He's 5'4". That would be one of them. Then last, I'll wait and see. I was pretty much on Paul Reed. I was really hoping he was going to start making an easy one, but we'll see where our guys come down on projections here. If you're not going there, you can go like Joe Val, you can go Thomas Bryant, you can go Mo Bamba, you can put Carter there, you can put Randall there actually too. Let me see if there's anybody else. Yeah, I think that about covers it for me.
Okay, very good. Let's kick things over to talk some GPPs because I think means what you were saying about some of these guys on a massive slate coming in 50, 60% owned. It just is a little bit fishy, but sometimes the play is to just play those dudes and be 100% on the 50% owned guy. So TJ, what is your game plan here? You're muted, homie.
Sorry, forgot to unmute after the dogs. For what it's worth, they have updated the Paul Reed projection. He's down to a 16-minute and 17 fantasy point projection, with Harrell actually being projected a little bit higher at 21 minutes and 19 points. So both of them are kind of, I think, scary to get to today. But from a tournament standpoint, it's exactly like you guys were talking about. There are a few plays that I'm just very interested in fading in tournaments, mainly Najee Marshall and Tobias Harris. Just crazy ownership for a 12-game slate that you don't need. You really don't need. Paul Reed obviously is projected for 50 plus, but that's going to go down after with him not starting and the projections being gone down. The somewhat chalky players I'm still interested in getting to today. Jalen Brunson, CJ McCollum. I think they're both phenomenal plays. De'Aaron Fox and Keldon Johnson, both in the 20-ish% range. I still really like them despite their ownership. And then there's some other low-owned play, and there's Julius Randle as well. But we have guys that are in the 5 to 12% range who are just phenomenal GPP plays today. Pascal Siakam, Giannis Antetokounmpo, LaMelo Ball, James Harden. I just adore all of these guys in tournaments today. Very, very strong tournament plays at the guard position. And then if you need to find some value in terms of to pivot off of, my favorite places to look is you can kind of stick with this New Orleans team and just simply play Trey Murphy or Herbert Jones instead of Najee Marshall. 4,900, 4,900, and 5-1. If you don't have the salary to get up to Herb Jones, play Trey Murphy instead. I kind of like him straight up better than Najee Marshall anyways from a raw point standpoint. So this New Orleans team is one of my favorite places to get different because you got the Trey Murphy, Herbert Jones direct line pivots. But then you also have Jonas Valanciunas with no Zion today. If he gets extended minutes, and if this is a somewhat close game, he's going to absolutely smash against Houston. And then if he doesn't, maybe this is a bit of a blowout today. If you're running a ton of lineups, I think a guy like Willie Hernan-Gomez is incredibly interesting for tournaments. If he gets 20 plus minutes, he could have 35 fantasy points in this one. And so he's somebody I think is very interesting for tournaments. As well as the last thing I want to feature before I throw it back is just this set of late games. 3 10 p.m. games. On the Detroit side, you got Killian Hayes back after his suspension, sub 6K. He's a good tournament value. On the Golden State side, I think Jordan Poole has one of the highest upsides on the slate today, coming in sub 10%. LA is without LeBron. They're without Lonnie Walker. They're still without AD. Dennis Schroeder is a player I think with tournament upside today. Same with Thomas Bryant. And Russell Westbrook has probably one of the bigger ceilings on the slate, and he's coming in at 10% ownership at sub 8K right now. And I think there are even guys you can look to on this team for some value as well in large field tournaments like a Troy Brown or a Wenyen Gabriel.
Is Westbrook still coming off the bench even with LeBron and everyone out?
We are currently projecting him to come off the bench yet. Yes, but they haven't announced that for tonight specifically yet. They have done that in the past, but they haven't announced it for tonight specifically yet. He's a GPP only play. He's not a cash game play because he might play 28 minutes. But if he plays 34 and has a 20-point triple-double tonight, he's going to be necessary for tournaments. Final one is this Atlanta-Sacramento game, last game of the slate, largest total on the slate, going to go largely overlooked. Trae Young, sub 5%, phenomenal play today. DeJounte Murray, under 9K, coming in at 6%. I don't mind him for tournaments. Even John Collins and Yekwa Okongwu, I think they're fine in tournaments. And then on the Sacramento side, love De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, and even Malik Monk in tournaments.
Okay, very good. Let's talk some DK. It means I'm trying to build this squad right now. I don't think there's a single player I'm like confident or super excited about playing, which is weird on a 12-game slate. Like Joval? I mean, yeah, you got your
It's
tag.
weird on a 12. I have one guy tagged, and it's your favorite player ever. You're not excited to play him?
Who is it? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Brunson.
Oh, okay. I had Brunson and JVal in. That's all I had.
Okay.
Those are the only two guys, so that works.
Your point stands though on the rest of it. I was just shocked to hear there's not one of them because I was like,
You're
your
right.
boy.
I do want to play the Brunson burner.
Okay. Yeah, it's actually you make a good point because there isn't a lot of comfortable places on DK. I feel way better about everything on FanDuel. So let's talk through it a little bit though. So there are good spin ups here at guard, which is going to make some other things uncomfortable. Obviously Brunson, I think you plug him in at point guard. Reasons I already talked about. McCollum is only point guard eligible as well, which kind of sucks for reasons we'll talk about. Shooting guard. Those are two of my favorites. Harden is a better play on DK for reasons I always mention about scoring system, and this price is a little better too. Kind of, it's not a no-brainer, especially with like lacking some value. If like we got the definite Paul Reed situation, that would have been a different story maybe. But I don't think he's a must. But he is, if you have the money, like maybe for a shooting guard, like I could see using him as shooting guard. So the Brunson, McCollum are my favorites. Schroeder at 4.9. If we're working down the ladder here a little bit, Schroeder at 4.9 is solid cheapie. Trey Jones at 5.7 is a solid cheapie, and then like Josh Richardson at 3.6, I guess. That would about be it for me for like primary, not even primary, like even on those cheap guys, we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel a little bit. So shooting guard is where it gets tough because quickly projects really well, but holy, you know what? There are some reasons to be scared here. Like if you guys are all just hanging out right now, go to Court IQ and run a Court IQ query with RJ Barrett off, Julius Randle on, Jalen Brunson on. It is like, oh my God, what are you even doing out there quickly? Like it is gross usage rate and everything. Just a bunch of red on there, I think. So obviously we are factoring that in a little bit. The issue is, I mean, not the issue, but like the other side of that is he'll be out there some without at least one of those guys. But I guess what I'm saying is fine for cash, be scared of like 20% on a 12-game slate. I don't know when the last time we updated ownership, but I'm looking at it right now, and he is like the 6th highest projected owned guy, which is awfully scary. So just be careful is what I'm saying. I would play him in cash. I would be very scared of a heavy position on him in tournaments. Other shooting guards, and the main reason I bring him up in the first place is because shooting guard gets kind of thin. Like after him, if you're not spending up for Harden, then you're like all these other guys who are like okay values, they're not as good of plays as Brunson and McCollum, who are both point guards. So like, salary gets thin a little quickly. So maybe you go like Melton, maybe you go Cole Anthony, maybe you go Patrick Beverly. I didn't mention him at point guard. I didn't mention Malik Monk at point guard. Those guys are okay. Like maybe if like Austin Reeves or something. I don't know. Shooting guard's kind of gross. So I didn't really help anybody there, but I don't really have a strong take either. So Let's move it on to small forward.
For what it's worth, I'll get it in. Well, it's still at shooting guard. I kind of have a strong lean to a guy like Murphy. I don't know why. I just really like these New Orleans wings not named Najee Marshall today, and he's got that shooting guard eligibility on DraftKings, where we don't like the position anyways, and you got somebody like a Trey Murphy or even a salary saver like a Grayson Allen. I think that's kind of tempting.
Okay. Means.
All right. Small forward. Jalen McDaniels, 4'4". Najee at 4'8". Mentioned Richardson. Tobias at 6'4". Then you have like some spin ups like with Paolo, Levine, DeRozan, things like that. But Jalen McDaniels would be my preference here if I am prioritizing. Let's go to power forward. Let's see how. All right, guys, I already mentioned McDaniels, Tobias, Najee. If you have the money, and it's tricky. Like I haven't looked, but I wouldn't be surprised if our projections are trying to jam in Giannis. Like ho hum, he's had 80 to 84 DraftKings points in the last 3 games. Like that's pretty decent. Man, it's tough to get him though. I think, and the back to back is worrisome in the sense that like if I'm going to be spending up that much, I want to like avoid as much risk as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And he did play 36.5 minutes last night. Traveled to Toronto. Toronto's really good at protecting the paint usually, so like they're going to make it tough on him. Like he can still do it, obviously. Long story short, I would probably prefer not to jam him in, especially as we're like wishy-washy all these cheap plays. So. I think you're picking between one of Tobias, Jalen, and Najee. So let's go to center real quick. Steven Adams. I don't know what's going on with that dude lately, but I was talking to Grant earlier this morning about his rebound prop line because it's at 14.5. Like the guy is just putting up huge numbers lately. Brandon Clark out. I think the last one and definitely this one is helping a little bit. I really like him. I think he's like weirdly safe, which is not something I usually say about him, but I think the minutes are pretty safe here, which isn't always the case. Then you have like Mo Bamba, kind of risky, but they only have 9 guys. You have, if you want to spend up, you go Joe Val. I think you were talking about him earlier, Roth, and I actually think 2 of my fits, like I think going like Adams and Joe Val at center util is a pretty good strategy for cash games on DK. Everything else is probably secondary. Wendell Carter is like right there with Joe Val. He's only 6'4". Like Jalen Williams for the Thunder with the Y. He's 3'3". He's okay. But yeah, I think Adams and Joe Val are my preferred options here.
Okay, very good. TJ, let's talk DK. Do get a question about Clay. And I just, I knew he blew up the other night and I was looking at his game log and he's been blowing up.
Yeah, I like playing Klay Thompson in tournaments a little bit more on DraftKings where he's cheaper and you get the 3-point bonus. Mm-hmm. Plus, you got Jordan Poole higher owned on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel, and Klay Thompson coming in at 2% on DK. So I do really like that as a tournament play. It's a lot of the same stuff for me in tournaments as FanDuel with a few exceptions. I still love Antetokounmpo and James Harden, but they're both coming in higher owned on DK than they are over on FanDuel. In terms of value, I do still really like the New Orleans guys, but I want to hammer this home even more because they're even cheaper on DK. I really like Milwaukee for value today. Like Meansy mentioned, it's a back-to-back, maybe a little scary for Giannis Antetokounmpo, but they're still without Drew Holiday. They're still without Chris Middleton. I think this could be a big day for some of these value pieces like Allen, Carter, Connaughton, and like they're all max, like the Javon Carter right now, who is the one I like the least of the 3 because he's the most expensive, and he's the highest owned one coming in at 6%. So I really like Milwaukee for value. And then the other guy that I would get to maybe a little bit more on DK if I needed it would just be Jalen Williams coming in 6-7% owned. He disappointed everybody the last time he was chalk and he started. He got into intense foul trouble. But this is a guy that when he was in the G League has put up some major games. And so he's got potential. He's just not fully there yet. I think he makes for a good tournament play, high risk, high reward. And then some of this other spend ups I really want to be focusing on in tournaments. De'Aaron Fox, Trae Young at 9,500. I really, really like, as well as Domantas Sabonis. I love the idea of kind of making some not full game stacks because it's a 12-game slate, but smaller game stacks of Sacramento, Atlanta, as well as New Orleans and Houston, and Charlotte and Memphis, getting to a little bit of Steven Adams, getting to a little Ja, getting to a little Jaren Jackson Jr., maybe not in the same lineup as Steven Adams, and then running it back with somebody like LaMelo Ball, Jalen McDaniels, even maybe somebody like a Terry Rozier, who he's only been back from injury for a little bit now, but this is still a good price tag for him. He's got a high ceiling. We've seen what Terry can do, even though he hasn't necessarily put up a big ceiling since getting back yet.
Okay, very good. Anything else you want to throw in here, guys?
PJ Washington in that same game I didn't mention. Just like those 3 games are kind of my favorite game stack games.
Okay, very good. Means you ready to dive into some QQs here? We've got about 7 minutes or so.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'll start here with Freyas. DK Cash, is Jalen Williams with a Y cash viable now, since Paul Reed's 3K value is likely gone? Are you digging that deep?
It's viable. I mean, you got to be willing to be screwed though, because like they just do weird stuff once games start. Like even within games they'll do weird stuff, but he's cheap, so I'd do it. I'm not saying I'd be thrilled about it.
Okay, fair enough. Achilles said, did Meansy say whether or not he prefers to jam in Giannis? You kind of mentioned you'd love to, but at that price, there's some risk.
Yeah, I dance around it. I would probably not do it in mine. There's just, when's that game start? That's 30 minutes after lock. I don't think we're going to get anything that like makes it easier to do. So I don't know. I probably wouldn't do it.
Very good. J Sam says, TJ, on FanDuel with no Nance, someone like Willie, a good tournament play at power forward. I do believe you mentioned good old Willie.
Yes, love that for tournaments. But I mean, the thing is you have JV just as low owned as Willie is going to be. So keep that in mind as well. Yes, Willie is a potential good value play, but JV is also a very good tournament play.
Very nice. Arlo says, Means DK Cash, I got some money to spend. So is it okay to spend on Levine over Tobias at that forward spot, or is that a mistake?
I don't think that's a mistake, no.
Okay. All right. Meansy, what did Meansy say? McCollum on DK at the guard spot? You did indeed like McCollum.
Yeah, like him and McCollum, or him and Brunson are like probably 2 of my first ones in.
Yeah. All right. Gamble says, FanDuel Cash, we got a little 2v2 for you, Means Melton, Joval, or Draymond and Simmons, or maybe Simon.
First one.
I'll never know. That always confuses me. Jay Sams says, hey, Meansy and TJ, both of you get to answer. Out of Pascal and Sabonis on FanDuel, who's got the higher ceiling and the best matchup? Means you can go first. Pascal or Sabonis?
I would say Sabonis has the better matchup because Milwaukee is so good at defending the rim. So that I guess I would. I mean, I don't know what the actual math says of the ceilings, but my head says that Sabonis has a bigger one against Atlanta. Yeah.
Very good. TJ, do you feel differently?
Highest total on the slate, highest projected point guy on that team. Sabonis would be my pick, but I think he's got the definitely better matchup, and I think he's got maybe an equally high ceiling because Siakam plays so many minutes. Mm-hmm. But I think he's got a better chance at hitting that ceiling because Siakam's going to have to be having a good shooting day to get there.
Very good. Okay, we'll go to NBA DFS. FanDuel Cash Means Rozier and Wendell Carter, or Melton and Big Body Keldon Johnson.
I would do the first one.
All right, FanDuel Cash 2v2 right back at you. Means Hayes and Aquaman, or Melton and JV.
What was the second one? Who was with JV?
Melton.
Second one.
Yeah. Just a quick note. I decided I wanted to jam in Steven Adams into one of my lineups. and I couldn't remember his name, so I Googled NBA Aquaman because I couldn't come up with his name off the top of my head. So I literally had to Google that. Embarrassing, but true. All right. Chinatown, last piece straight up means DK Cash, Paolo, or Clay.
I feel like the table kind of moves over there with TJ when you talk about Aquaman, so we got to be careful with that.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I got some toys I could bring out.
Yeah.
What was the question?
It was Paolo or Clay. I really actually like both of them. But
I would do Paolo for sure.
Okay, very good. Meansy, any Cody Martin love from Swag with Chris?
I mean, he's cheap. There's definitely no love. There's I'm looking at you across the room. I might see if you're looking back, but there's no love.
After a few drinks, you'd consider, but not quite.
Oh yeah, after a few, definitely, yeah.
That's fair. Gamble says, means is Reeves okay as the last piece in FanDuel cash? You kind of offhandedly mentioned him in DK.
I don't remember what he's probably. Let me look real quick on FanDuel because I don't remember him popping up for me.
4,700.
Last piece, I guess. I mean, I doubt I find much better.
Okay, and then FanDuel.
You can
cash
get the extra
up.
200. You can get either of the
Najee.
New Orleans players.
Yeah. All right. FanDuel cash straight up. Draymond or Joe Val?
Joe Val.
AJ says means DK cash last piece. Trent or Levert?
Trent.
All right. Gonna jump over.
Play Grayson Allen over Austin Reeves.
Okay, I like it. Is Jordan Poole going over value from Tim? Jordan Poole going to hit value?
Take
I
that.
I like Poole in tournaments today, yeah.
Very good. All right. Pulling a couple here. Yeah, I'm jumping over to the YouTube here, but all right, here we go. DKGPP, PJ Tucker or Paul Reed? I just vomited twice as I read that, once with each name. TJ, who do you prefer?
Paul Reed, definitely over PJ Tucker.
Okay, very good. Hunter or OKC? Is Hunter or OKC the good one Williams is, I think, how he's worded that.
That's
DeAndre Hunter or the good Joe Williams. I'm just double checking to see how much Hunter, 38 minutes in his first game back. Yeah, I would go DeAndre Hunter.
Very good. Zone says, is Saric in play? TJ, I'm assuming that's a you question.
He's starting, but he wasn't in the rotation really before that. It's because Cleveland goes big that they plugged him in instead of Torrey Craig. But nah, I still just don't want to get to Dario Saric.
Okay. Jay Sam says, FanDuel, I'm calling this a GPP question. It is actually single entry. If I'm playing somebody like Marshall, you guys don't like, okay, someone like Marshall who you don't really like for single entry, is it okay to play him like Randall Harris in the same lineup? I read that as written. I hope that made sense.
If you're wondering if your lineup is going to be too chalky with Najee Marshall, Julius Randle, and Tobias Harris, yes, those are probably going to be three of the chalkiest players on the slate. So make sure you find somewhere else to differentiate. However, on a 12-game slate, you're not that likely to have a duped lineup in a single entry anyways, but it is going to be tougher to climb the standings with all that chalk.
Very good. Aside FanDuel cash, Wendell or JV straight up?
That's tough. I think the answer is probably JV, but I don't feel strongly about it.
Okay. We've hit the lock. We got a couple more questions I'll throw in there. Open it up to questions of all sorts. Make sure you get that thumbs up button. You got two of the sharpest minds in the biz, free content, and we're opening things up for NFL lineup HQ. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up. RotoGrinders giving you all the freemium right now. DK Cash means 3v3. J-Val Harris Poole or Levine Bamba Harden?
First one.
Very good. FanDuel cash straight up. He says you may have answered this. Sorry, I think you did. Joe Val or Draymond? FanDuel cash.
Yeah, I think I like Joval on that one for sure, and then the Joval Wendell one's the tough one for me.
Very good, very good. This is a quick TJ question here. Syndromeda says, why Grayson over Reeves?
Because Grayson Allen should be in line for multiple minutes tonight, including some as the point guard, because they don't really have anybody else there today. I believe Ingles is out for this one. He was getting about 20 minutes a game. And so Javon Carter and Grayson Allen are really the only two people who can play point guard. And so when the projection is so close, I think Grayson Allen has a similar floor, but a much higher ceiling.
Okay, very good. Means quick beverage question here. Is that a boozy Topo Chico, or is this the Miller Lite version of that?
Those are the same thing.
Miller Lite owns the boozy Topo Chico.
Yeah, Molson owns these. Yeah, Molson Coors. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. That looks tasty, and you've inspired me. I am going. I think we've got some in the fridge right now. So I do believe with that, just straight up Powerade over there.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I'm
Who
hydrated.
drinks Powerade? Like, who drinks that stuff not on the basketball court?
Oh, I wouldn't drink it on the basketball court. It's too sugary for that. So you want Gatorade while you're playing sports. Powerade is just like a tasty sugary drink.
Okay, well, I kind of meant I was kind of lumping them together in this case, but
it's just like Powerade doesn't actually have all that much salt in it in comparison to Gatorade, which has a ton. And so this is more just like a little less sugar than pop with a little more hydration.
All right. Steve, I believe, who's producing, says, I think you're supposed to cut Gatorade with water. You do, but then they cut it so much that it just tastes like shitty flavored water sometimes when you drink it, and it's very disturbing. So don't overcut it. With that, I think we have done our duties and our due diligence. We can bounce on out of here. So for Mr. Andy Means, for TJ, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have. Oh, hey, I put a PGA weather forecast. PGA is back. Make sure you check the weather forecast for this week. I just tweeted it out at KevinRothWx. We appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.